All right, this video has been a long time in the making, but it's finally done. Not done forever, mind you, the list will constantly evolve with time, but done to a point where it's ready for publication, so let's get right into it. There are three main types of people who might watch this. The first are people that don't know or care about cybersecurity and are completely unwilling to even learn. For those people, I recommend that you continue on and reframe that mindset. It's an important topic for a variety of reasons, and you may come to deeply regret that level of disregard in the future, but I can't force you. Godspeed. The second main type of person who may watch this is the person who knows some or very little, but wants to learn and wants to protect themselves. For those viewers, you're in the right place. This list will contain a series of solutions for all aspects of cybersecurity to a point where you can pick and choose what to add and where based on budget, convenience, and personal preference. One thing I need to be very clear about at the onset here is that cyber and info security are inextricably and inversely linked to convenience. It's basically a set of scales, to put it bluntly. On one side is privacy and security, while on the other is convenience and ease of access. Raising your level of convenience by saving passwords, for example, will always decrease your security and privacy, while raising security and privacy, on the other hand, will almost always lower your overall convenience. This is an immutable trade-off that must be considered, and every individual will have their own subjective preference on how to balance those scales. This video is all about flexibility. The third and final type of potential viewer is influencers or creators. This one is a lot more niche, but also substantially more immediate. Creators watching this video will be doing so for one of two distinct reasons. Either A, they have already had their channel compromised and sold to a network of criminal crypto scammers, or B, they want to prevent that from happening to them in the first place. And that may seem like a far-off problem to some people, but it's not. It's a threat, it's immediate, and it's out there preying on people in the YouTube ecosystem and other social media right now as I say this. Let me put it like this. Not too long ago, I was personally targeted by a malware campaign, and rather than a long technical explanation of what happened or how, which I did in the past when the attack occurred in a separate video, I'll just summarize things in a generalized way. There is a global campaign that has existed for years targeting YouTubers. Not just YouTubers, but that's my personal industry where I have the bulk of experience, so that's the angle I'm just focusing on for right now. Here's how it works. First, a threat actor will use spear phishing campaigns to infect a target host. They use a variety of methods such as creating dummy websites, products, embedding malware in legitimate software, etc., etc. They have a lot of different tools in their arsenal. When they execute an attack successfully, after however many tries it takes, i.e. the victim downloads an infected file thinking it's safe to do so or clicks something they shouldn't have, a few things immediately happen. First, something generally referred to as a stealer, and there's a bunch of different types of this. There's redline stealer or raccoon stealer or bandit stealer, etc., etc. Something called a stealer will copy the victim's browser instance, allowing the attacker to simply replicate the window somewhere else in the world and log into all of your accounts immediately without even tripping two-factor authentication. In truth, it's a little more complicated than just that, but for the sake of simplicity, victims download an infected file or click an infected link. Their browser instance gets copied, while the attacker now has access to every profile and account where the victim stored credentials in that browser for convenience. Sounds scary, right? But that's only the beginning. After that, the attacker will change the login credentials wherever possible, particularly on YouTube accounts or something like that, and start selling all of your accounts. To be clear, there is an entire economy of this taking place each and every day. YouTubers are being compromised constantly, and their accounts are then resold and turned into crypto scamming live streams. Huge names like Linus Tech Tips, Memology 101, Marco Style, and more are compromised through this method, with their channels then sold off to the highest bidder, repurposed into a method of scamming their audience, and all of it is possible because convenience is often prioritized far too heavily above security. For a long time, years in fact, I've simply been talking about these issues, covering them in videos, and not providing actual real solutions. So today, I'm going to try to fix that. Some solutions are free, some of them cost money. All of the ones that cost money benefit this channel, just to be really upfront about that. And we have custom partnerships with a number of the companies on this list to provide special discounts to the community directly, as we hopefully turn this list into a one-stop shop for hardening your info security as much as humanly possible, within reason. Here we go. Timestamps are down below for people that want to skip around. I'm going to be really thorough about that. It's going to be long, quite long, but feel free to use any, all, or none of it as you see fit. Let's begin with EsetNod32. The very first thing you can do, and I'm happy to say that I have worked directly with this company to provide a special discount to our community exclusively, is get EsetNod32 for your computer, phone, or another ESET internet security product for whatever device you are trying to protect. To be totally transparent here, this is the basic spend some money and increase your security by a fair margin type of option, but that also requires a bit of an explanation. There is no one-stop shop or fix-all solution to cybersecurity. It doesn't exist. It never has, it never will. It's always a balancing act. In the case of ESET in particular, when I myself was targeted by a novel malware campaign attempting to steal my accounts, they were one of the only antivirus options on Earth that had already identified and defeated the malware being sent to me, and they also rank highly on every single independent analysis I could find. It's a fair bit of money to pay, it really is, but if you want to spend some cash, it's also the easiest thing you can do right away, immediately, and increase your online security. ESET comes highly recommended by my expert source, who partnered up with me to make this list. It wouldn't even be possible without Sick the Cat, and serves as a huge step up compared to most other antivirus options, with a massive number of advanced tools on top of that, some seriously advanced stuff if you want to get into it and, tinker around. You can find a link down below to our complete list where all the discount links are housed, but also remember an exclusive special discount for ESET NOD32 antivirus that was given to our community. Again, one of the easiest first things you can do if you're looking to protect yourself. Next up is your browser. Chrome is the browser I'm focusing on since most people now use it. Apparently, I didn't know this until doing the topic, but apparently over 60% of the world utilizes the Chrome browser as their primary method of surfing the internet. And Chrome is an obvious vulnerability to target. Saving your passwords in Chrome is one of the least secure things you can possibly do. And while Google certainly takes precautionary steps to help prevent infiltration, of course they do, those steps simply are not adequate by themselves when it comes to protecting you. For starters, I actually recommend Firefox. It's free, the link is provided in the list, and it's also open source, something you'll be hearing about kind of a lot today. Open source software is almost always preferable in these kind of situations. Firefox has a lot of additional features. I recommend never saving your passwords in your browser ever under any circumstances, but a simple switch like this really can't be overstated. However, for those who don't want to switch, don't want to use a new browser because of convenience, or just happen to like their current one enough to stick with it, there's a couple more options if people are determined to stick with Chrome. One of those options is to always use an incognito window when logging into sensitive accounts. This is less convenient, of course, I know. It won't save your 500 tabs and reopen them for you after a restart, and you won't be able to simply click a button and log into your bank, for example. But if you were ever compromised, which is possible, and people need to be aware of that, at least you stop them from getting all the important shit right away. It's a good step to take. Next item on the list is Guardio. For those who want to throw a little bit of money at the problem, I have a direct partnership with a company called Guardio. And Guardio is a threat prevention Chrome extension that works directly with this channel. And I also want to add here that as I started to research more and more cybersecurity topics, I started to see their name and their research popping up more and more frequently. From everything I can find, they are actually an excellent option for novice-level generalized protection. What I mean by novice level is that you don't really have to do anything. There's nothing advanced about it. You just pay the money, get the extension, use it, and it will help you. Again, buying a singular product will never be a fix-all solution, but Guardio has proven extensively to me that they work hard and very fast to identify and track threats, monitor for information leaks, remove malicious extensions, which is a common type of attack aimed at crypto in particular, and much more. They have a business teams feature, on-demand scans, explicit content blockers, if you want that. I'm talking to all you parents out there, and much more. But once again, if you're using Chrome, you are dead set against switching browsers, and you're willing to spend a little bit of money, Guardio is a solid option to look at. Now for a very simple one that honestly should become an immediate thing that everyone does, and there's basically no excuse, and that is link checking. Eventually, for some reason, everyone out there will have links that they need to click on. Links from emails, links from social media, links from third parties you don't know, but you kind of have to look at, be it for business, personal enjoyment, you name it, there will be links that you must click on. When that happens, you should always be plugging a link from untrusted sources, and even from trusted sources most of the time, into a link checker. Hell, you should probably even do it with the links from this very video. The one we recommend is going to www.virustotal.com, click URL right there in the middle, paste the link you want to check right in there, and hit enter. This will show you if there are any security vendors flagging things on the website, and you can also do this with files. If you have a file that someone has told you to download for any reason, let's say, for my example, a file in a fake copyright notice, which is how they targeted me back when they decided to do that, or a file from a potential video sponsor. That's another angle that they use to hijack YouTuber channels. You upload it to VirusTotal before you open it, period, and see what comes back. If it's clean, you're probably good to go. That means no security vendors have flagged anything. Again, this is a free step that everyone can take to better protect themselves. Baby steps do matter. The next thing you can do, the next thing you should do, is use a password manager. I'm old school. I use a physical piece of paper locked in a safe surrounded by poisonous vipers in the Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones couldn't even get it, but for everyone else, there are some easier options. ESET, once again, a highly regarded and greatly recommended antivirus option who we are directly partnered with, has their own password manager, which would be an excellent option as well. But in the interest of making this list as comprehensive and kind of detailed as possible with the best products, there's another product that has been recommended to me by not one, but two different expert sources independently. KeePass XC. KeePass XC can be used on Windows, Mac, or Linux. It's open source, huge positive there, and it allows you to store passwords and login credentials on your machine. It has a little bit of a learning curve. I mean, not much, but it's free. And maybe if people want, I can do a step-by-step later down the line on how to use it and what exactly to do. Of course, the link is on our list as well. You can click that and go through there. And the truth is, there are a lot of decent password managers out there, but KeePass XC is where I found the most sincere, trustworthy, and credible recommendations from experts. It can take a little bit of time to set up. You have to type things out and learn how to use it, but it really doesn't take that long. And once you've done it, it becomes a whole lot easier to stop saving your credentials in a browser. Not only that, but you also stop having to reset things constantly because you forgot what the password was. So you have to do forgot password and get the email and pick a new one. And then you're frustrated, so you pick a new one and then you forget the new one because you hardly ever have to log in ever to begin with. A good password manager is a dramatic step up for cybersecurity, but also organization. Very much worth looking into. Now we move on to more advanced things, I guess, like two-factor authentication. The truth here is that two-factor authentication is good. Great even, but not all two-factor methods are equal. Simple SMS text verification, which is what most people generally use, is kind of one of the least secure options out there, though it is, of course, a good step to have. So for those interested in hardening their security substantially, we have a custom relationship now with one of the best hardware authenticators in existence, Yubico. Yubico is a provider of what's called YubiKeys, and YubiKeys are a much more secure option for two-factor login security. There's actually some stunning data on how well YubiKeys manage to protect accounts from user error, and they can be used on basically all devices, protecting your security in a way that is well and truly beyond other forms of two-factor authentication. They have an incredibly easy-to-use and polished interface. They prevent a number of attack types and phishing techniques that SMS verification just cannot stop, and they also have a 1-year defect warranty on top of that. I have a couple of them, but the one that came most highly recommended was the 5 series. They serve individuals and large businesses, meaning that not only is it great for the person who wants to prevent their career-critical social media channel from being hijacked, I'm talking to you, YouTubers, it's also great for the medium-sized businesses who have a bunch of employees, where any one of them, those employees, could be the reason that a threat actor gains access to your systems. Remember, the network is only as strong as the dumbest person using it. Another little anecdote here. A company I worked with up until recently was trying to sell me hacked social media insurance, like channel insurance, for an exorbitant amount of money. And instead of paying them every month, I can just use a YubiKey and be a little bit smarter. Prevention is the real best option here, and Yubico is one of the leading players in the space for preventing your accounts from being compromised by far. Next up is GLINet, and once again, we have an industry leader here where I've managed to form a direct relationship and secure a special discount for the community. They have a lot of products. By the end of this, I'll probably have a few different options. I'll most likely do dedicated reviews for a couple of them if people are interested in that once I learn more, but for right now, the one that I recommend is the X300B Collie. This thing, all of their products really, to be honest, but this thing is incredible. For starters, they have built-in WireGuard supporting 30-plus VPN solutions at a hardware level and, of course, big positive, open-source firmware. The level of advanced control they offer, I'm talking to you parents about maybe blocking certain devices from the internet at certain times, etc., but the level of advanced control that they offer is amazing. And yes, there's a learning curve I'm still in, by the way. I'm not an expert on this, but for a more advanced example from my expert source, how about this? My partner for making this list, who basically made the whole thing possible, currently works through HackerOne doing bug bounties, as they're called. For those that don't know, he's an exploit dev, And basically what they do is break shit for money, for lack of a better term, because the company wants to know what's broken before someone actually uses it against them. It's effectively an entire economy of bounty payouts and legal hacking, but it gets better. While doing some of these bug bounties, my partner hit an IDS and firewall. This took his IP, it's basically security as a service on an industrial level, and blocked it. But when he got banned, the IP got picked up by every other company using the same service as a result, including, but not limited to, PNC Bank, Wall Street Journal, CC Cleaner, New York Times, Hilton, anything by Marriott, Delta, Bellagio, there's more, etc., etc. To get around this, easily I might add, he spoofed the MAC address on his GL-INET router, because that's a function they do support, which is normally used for connecting to public hotspots and protecting your actual MAC address, and was able to resume like nothing happened. I'm not saying most people will ever need that level of control or depth or be doing anything even remotely comparable here, but when I say that we tried to make this list as good as it could possibly get, I am serious about that. System features in the advanced dashboard for GL-INET routers allowed him to override the existing MAC address, thereby circumventing the security as a service ban on the IP, and that's really just the start of what these routers offer. Xfinity, for example, says that they have dynamic IP, but the lease time on the IP is incredibly long. You should be able to unplug and wait 30 seconds, replug and good to go, but no, that doesn't work, which lends even more value to the GL-INET hardware. By the way, if someone has your IP for any reason, such as gaming, for example, VoIP, and decides to DDoS you, GL-INET routers effectively invalidate this attack vector by allowing freeform change of your IP in pretty much any circumstance via MAC spoofing. Integrated hardware-level VPN means that any device connected to the Wi-Fi or LAN ports will be VPN'd completely through whatever service you personally choose if you want to go that route. I'll discuss more on that note in just a second. Tor is automatically built into a number of their routers. Simply enable it. You can also pick what exit node country is used. And while there certainly is a lot of complexity here for people who want to really understand the hardware and everything it can do, it's also very easy at the most basic level. If I can do it, I promise you, if I can do it, anyone can do it, making it something we are incredibly proud to have on this list. It can be used as a Wi-Fi extender as well. Signal strength will be larger in a bigger area of the home or the yard, whatever it is, and even more on top of that, such as failover, where if one means of internet access is not available, it automatically switches to the next to preserve constant connection. Great for video games, by the way, just throwing that out there. It's not cheap. It's definitely a bit more expensive than most other items on this list, but it's also one of the most impressive and valuable things that you can do to harden your own security. And this one doesn't even really subtract from convenience, so that's a massive positive. Also, Lucy, open source dashboard, we all know how I feel about open source, and I could probably keep going quite a while when it comes to these, but for the sake of time, they're amazing, and I'll leave it at that. Next, logically, it's time to talk about VPNs, virtual private networks. VPNs are a hot button product these days, and anyone who has a router from GL-INET will be able to run any of the larger options directly at a hardware level. To be clear, you don't actually need a particular router to run a VPN. You can get it on any device. There's tons of options, etc., etc. I just wanted to make that clear. The VPN company I am personally partnered with is Surfshark. And I have to say, Surfshark has treated me incredibly, incredibly well since the very first time I ever worked with them. I have longer term contracts with them now. They support the channel financially. And the truth of the matter is I probably wouldn't even have been able to make all of the videos that I have or paid some of my contacts to help enhance the material without their support. So that needs to be stated. A lot of the money that they've given me has made the channel possible. There's a link for their product down below in the database. It's an affiliate link, right? Full disclosure, same as most things on this list where possible. And there are a large number of benefits to using a VPN that could be discussed at length, but some of them are as follows: IP protection, anonymity, bypassing geo-locked content, as well as much safer connections to public Wi-Fi, like hotels or coffee shops, and the list goes on. Surfshark supports me, and I support them in return. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that a couple of my expert sources have recommended a few of their own preferred VPN solutions, such as Mullvad and Windscribe. Being that GL-INET routers support pretty much every single major VPN out there, I'm officially recommending Surfshark to you, the audience, while also acknowledging that my sources have their own opinions on the matter, which they wanted me to mention. To be clear, again, you don't actually need a specialized router for a VPN to still be quite valuable to you. It's just a synergistic pairing in this particular case. But again, the list is meant to be infinitely flexible for whatever person watches and wants to take some sort of action. So feel free to use these options as you see fit. All right, this is where we get into the really advanced stuff. SLNT, silent Faraday bags. These are basically the pinnacle of privacy. SLNT bags, phone sleeves, and laptop cases block all signals, GPS, solar flare interference, RFID attacks, and generally prevent any remote signal ever from accessing any devices inside. Of course, you can't use the device while it's inside either. This is the pause button, the timeout option, and a way to protect your device totally and completely for as long as you want. These are the ultimate protection / isolation for any digital device. If you're concerned in any way about outside access to your information or signals or malicious attacks, anything like that, this is a lockdown solution that controls your digital footprint in the tightest way possible. While traveling through an area with compromised networks, as an example, for any reason, these are the best option to just shut down and protect all of your information. SLNT has a lot of different marketing points that they focus on, but one angle I myself keep coming back to is health. Mental health, perhaps physical health, though I don't have any data for that particular angle right now. Even personality health. Our devices are always there, always injecting things almost into our very brain through addictively designed pop-ups and advertisements and notifications. SLNT bags are just a complete break from all that. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out, no signals. You've gone electronically dark, if you will, for whatever reason you want to, until the device comes out of the bag. And there won't be as many situations where this is as required or desirable as some of the other entries on the list, but the products are very, very high quality. And once again, we have secured a special partnership discount for anyone interested. I personally use a phone sleeve quite often. I put my phone in there when I want to shut the digital world out of my life for at least a few hours with no exceptions. And I love it. But like I said before, this is meant to be an extremely diverse list of options where you can sink as much or as little as you want into it. Last thing, and this one, surprise, surprise, is for crypto bros. I hate crypto. Personally, I think it's a cesspool of speculation that has devolved to a point of net negative impact so large it should be either eradicated or fundamentally transformed. But I didn't always see it that way. Once upon a time, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was the nerd who was telling people that technology would change the world, and it still might. Although maybe in a bad way, but whatever. What it became here along the way is something I want nothing to do with. However, that being said, there are people out there who use it for real reasons, who profit from it daily, and who support the industry and want to engage with it safely, of all things. This is, of course, much more specific, but for crypto traders who want to increase their personal digital security, we have formed a relationship with a company called SecuX to provide hardware wallets. Crypto is being targeted by attackers every single day at incredible, mind-blowing speed. And if you're not taking measures to protect yourself and curb that level of abuse, rampant scamming, you're kind of part of the problem as to why the industry is infested with low-level scammers. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't lucrative. And it's lucrative, I assure you, because people have shit-level security. SecuX hardware wallets are one of the best methods to protect your crypto, regardless of how I feel about it. Personal story time. Way back when I actually traded crypto, I ordered a Ledger hardware wallet, and guess what? It never showed up. I ordered it, I paid for it, and I never got it. I have not heard of that happening with SecuX from anyone, not from any of the sources I spoke with, and they support more features and tokens than I even kind of thought possible. Personally, I'm not super into the technical side, but for those interested in a technical explanation, this was not done by me, this was done by my partner. Here it is. Certified CC EAL5 Plus encryption. EAL5 Plus refers to Evaluation Assurance Level 5 Plus. It's a security assurance level defined with the Common Criteria CC framework. EAL5 Plus is a relatively high level of assurance involving a rigorous evaluation process that includes thorough testing and analysis of the security functions and mechanisms of a product. There is extensive documentation and evidence to demonstrate the product's security features and their effectiveness. The plus in EAL5 Plus indicates that additional requirements or criteria beyond the standard EAL5 level have been met. EAL5 Plus, that's a mouthful, I keep saying it. EAL5 Plus is technically associated with products used in high security environments, such as government systems or critical infrastructure, where strong security assurances are necessary. There's a secure element chip that was co-opted between Infineon and ARM to enhance the performance of chip card and security controllers. Protection via encryption of not only your private key, but also your PIN. And a lot of things, here's a list. Tamper evident, large touchscreen, superior to Ledger. Color display, hands-on clear sign. Clear view display of transaction details, unlike Ledger or Trezor. 10,000 plus coins/tokens, more support for tokens and coins than Ledger and Trezor by far. NFT supported, if that's your thing, but honestly, fuck NFTs in my opinion. Multi-chain, because we're not maximalists and only one of us in this partnership likes crypto. Web-based app, USB micro B, dynamic PIN entry, passphrase capability, and up to 500 accounts. Basically, long story short, if you want to be secure in crypto, use that. For right now, that's basically it. Any and all of these things can be used. Any and all of them will enhance your security beyond the basic premise of simple convenience. But remember, threat protection is an evolving world. Nothing is a fix-all safe measure. Everything is subject to change. You can pay someone money and raise protection if it's the right service. You can spend some time learning and raise it even more by far. But that will always be a trade-off for convenience and ease of use. Everyone watching needs to decide for themselves what to pursue and why. My only advice is to be conscious of these things rather than asleep. The digital world is kind of incredible. It allows me to make a living and do all sorts of fun things, but it's also terrifying. And we should all be extremely cognizant of when and where we are all vulnerable. For YouTubers, there are additional stories every day where creators have their entire livelihood just hijacked because they have poor security. Don't let it happen to you. In the past, I merely reported on these things. I just talked about them after the fact. But now we have concrete, specialized brand partnerships so that anyone who might be concerned can take real action and get a discount in the process. As always, thank you all for watching. Over time, the list will certainly evolve and improve, I hope. If you're a company interested in reaching out, my email is down below. If you're a viewer, there's a Linktree link down there, and then everything is clearly labeled in the Linktree. We have tracking for a lot of this. A lot of these are affiliate links. Some of them are free, etc., just to keep everyone aware. But yeah, I'll cut it there, and I'll stop rambling. Have a nice night.